Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshorun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from Srimad Gita Upanishad as it is, translation commentary, Srila Prabhupada. Text number 13 and 14, chapter 12, devotional service. Please repeat. Advaita Sarvabhutanam Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Sukhashami Santushta Satatam Yogi Yatadma Dridha Nishtaya Maya Arpita Manobodhir Yo Madbhakta Same Priyaha Advaita Sarvabhutanam Maitra Kuruna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Sukashami Santushta Satatam Yogi Yatatma Dhrida Nishtaya Mavapita Manobodhir Yo Madbhakta Same Priya Advaita Sarvabhutanam Maitra Kuruna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Sukashami Santushtaha Satatam Yogi Yatatma Dhrida Nishchaya Mavapita Manobodhir Yo Madbhakta Same Priya. Okay. Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Yogi. Advaita Sarvabhutanam Karunamayenvacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Sadadam Yogi Advaita Sarvabhutanam Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Santushta Sadadam Yogi Yathatma Drida Nishchaya Mavapita Manobodhir Yomad Bhakta Same Priya Sarvabhutanam Maitraya Kurunevacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Samagni Nasa Sadadam Yogi Yomad Bhakta Me Priyaha
Advaita Sarvabhutanam Maityakarmaevacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Sukasvami Santushta Sadadam Yogi Yathatma Nishchaya Maya Vikamano Buddhi Yomad Same Priya.
So, Advaitaha, non-envious. Sarvabhutanam, toward all living entities. Maitraha, friendly. Karuna, kindly. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Nirmamaha, no sense of proprietorship. Nirahankara, without false ego. Samaha, equal. Dukkha, in distress. Sukha, and happiness. Shami, forgiving. Santushtaha, satisfied. Satatam, always. Yogi, one engaged in devotion. Yata Atma, self-controlled. Drida Nishchaya, with determination. Mayi, upon me. Apita, engaged. Mana, mind. Buddhi, and intelligence. Yaha, one who. Mad Bhakta, Mat Bhakta, my devotee. Saha, he. Me, to me. Priya, dear. One who is, translation Srila Prabhupada. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, some technical difficulty, hold this. That's right. Okay, thank you. Who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service, with determination. His mind and intelligence, fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So, purport Srila Prabhupada. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone. Nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past deeds, so it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, it is stated, Tattena nukampam susamiksha shamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmama means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body, therefore he is free from the conception of false ego and equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty, therefore he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments, because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare. But a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Mukam karoti vachalam bhangam laite grim yad kripa tabaham vande Shri Guru dinatarinam advaishta sarva bhutanam maitra kuruna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samaduka sah shami santushta satatam yogi yatadma drida nishchayah mavyapita mano bodhir yo madbhakta same priyaha. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is freed from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So, Krishna now is elucidating the nature of a devotee to Arjuna, and that is for our benefit, of course, through Arjuna, so we can recognize who is the devotee, and we can also cultivate these qualities in our period of sadhana. The 12th chapter is called Devotional Service, so it's very pertinent for us sadhakas, and even the Paramahamsas that may be in this room. The point is that after the universal form has been manifest, then what do? We go home? No, we engage in devotional service. Right? This is the point. Once you realize that Krishna is the cause of all causes, that everything rests upon him, then naturally, seeing that wonderful nature of Krishna, one's true nature as a devotee becomes manifest. So, in this chapter, Krishna helps us in how to cultivate devotional service. We need more volume, it's very minimal. So the 12th chapter, with this purpose in mind, telling us how to... that's fine, okay. Telling us how to become devoted, how to enter sadhana bhakti. This is a very important chapter, because we see nectar of devotion, we see so many literatures, nectar of instruction, many writings by the Goswamis, many commentaries, but they are all expanded from this, because of course Krishna is the supreme authority. So in Krishna's elucidation of the levels and how to engage in devotional service, there is great seed knowledge that the devotees, the acharyas, the bhaktas have expanded. So if we understand this, and we should always bear in mind, Bhagavad Gita is the Vedanta Sutra, if you like, of the Mahabharata. The Vedanta Sutra is the summation of all the Vedas, all the knowledge, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, and Moksha. What is the condition of mukti? The Vedanta Sutra is in 4 kandas or chapters or corners. One is Sambandha Gyan, knowledge, philosopher, Siddhanta. Second is how to engage in devotional service. Third is the goal of devotional service. And fourth is the condition of liberation which one attains by devotional service. So this is all explained in the Vedanta Sutra in a highly philosophical way. But the Vedas, they have the mirror in the sense of the Mahabharata. They are mirrored in the Mahabharata, especially for Kali Yuga. All Vedic knowledge is composed in the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is an itihasa. That means a history, because the story is in consecutive form. The Puranas, Purana means ancient. So it is knowledge, but it is not necessarily in historical order. It is a philosophical treatise, so it is bringing examples from different times and different relationships. But an isihasa, like Ramayana, that is in consecutive knowledge. So because the Vedas are very difficult and very philosophical, but not too difficult that an average person cannot understand, but generally people are interested in stories, especially in Kali Yuga, and that is not to denigrate stories, because after all the Srimad Bhagavatam is a collection of stories. So the fifth Veda, the Mahabharata, contains the Vedanta Sutra, and that is the Bhagavad Gita. So here in the central portion of the Gita, the middle 6 chapters, we find this wonderful elucidation on bhakti and the nature of the bhakta and the result of bhakti. In this section here, starting just here, there are 7 verses of the nature of a devotee, and then the result is given in the 8th verse after this. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, the prayojan, are very, very dear to me. So it's very important. So how does 12th chapter, only 20 verses, you see the brilliance of Krishna. He has unlimited intelligence after all. What does he do? First, he discusses, as we did last week, the difficulty of impersonal realization. He contrasts that with personal realization, and more or less Krishna says, don't follow that path, it's very difficult for those that are embodied. Plus, if you want to meditate on the impersonal absolute, the Brahman, then you merge into the Brahman, and that is an unsatisfactory condition. What is the Brahman? It's just like if I flash a giant light in your eyes, your thinking, feeling, willing will be null and void. Your ability to see will be null and void. So this is a material example, but if we enter the Brahman, all activity, all sense activity is placated by the Shakti of the Brahmajyoti. But it is unsatisfactory because the soul is by nature active. So therefore he comes out of the Brahman eventually. Of course this is not within material time, but it is within spiritual time. But you can say it is sequential. But it is not satisfactory. So the first thing that Krishna deals with is by showing, yes, you can do this Brahman meditation, but it is secondary and gives a lesser result than bhakti. Because impersonal realization is Jnana Yoga. It is an attempt to attain the Supreme through knowledge. Whereas Krishna explains that the highest path of attainment and the full attainment is through bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijananti. So, we won't say that Krishna dismisses Brahman, meditation on the Brahman, but he does put it in a secondary position. So then after establishing bhakti, and bhakti to himself, as the ultimate and the sublime process of self-realization, then he gives, starting on 7 and 8, the different levels. So the bhakta, the first level, is the Paramahamsa, the Mahabhagavat, whose mind is always fixed on Krishna in devotion, whose devotion flows, just like it is explained in the Bhagavatam, that Prahlad Maharaj, he rendered service to Krishna, even though he was only 5 years old, like a river, a continuous, powerful river, like the Ganga, say in rainy season, a flow of devotion towards the Supreme Lord, unbroken, unmotivated, based on bhakti, sublime attraction, praying for the Supreme Lord. As we said in the Bhagavatam, Ganga Vodam Udanvati. Queen Kunti prays that my devotion will be just like the Ganga. It will flow without restriction by obstacles. Just like the Ganga, you cannot hold back the Ganga. It will flow over any obstacle. So Queen Kunti prays like that. So that is sublime devotion, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 366 days on a leap year, non-stop devotion. Right? But that is coming from that prem bhav, that attraction to the all-attractive Krishna. So then Krishna explains, if you cannot do this, then you should follow the rules and regulations of bhakti, because by that you will come to the sublime position. So that's very pertinent, right? Vaidhi bhakti, Prabhupada always explained, and he criticized the Sahajiya cult, that they immediately go to the practice of prem bhav without the bhav. They are imagining that they are in the Ras Leela, they're imagining that they're on the bank of the Jamuna. But first, purify yourself and make a solid foundation. Yes, we don't decry that, wonderful. But do it from an awakened soul, as the Swarup manifest, from an awakened soul, but not from the mental platform. If you do it from the mental platform, then this is, they are bhaktas, but they have less knowledge of the process. So then if you follow Vaidhi Bhakti nicely, if you cannot follow that, then Krishna says, engage in work for me. Perform karma yoga. That means do your work like, what is that? Yad karosi yadanasi yogstadosi dadasya. Whatever you do, whatever you give, do it in a mood of devotion. You're attached to your material activities. You don't want to perform sadhana, go to an ashram, or turn your house into an ashram and perform bhakti 24 hours a day to your home deity. But you want to do your work, you want to have your friends, but do everything in the mood of for Krishna. On the basis of your realization that Krishna is everything and everything has come from Krishna. That is the realization of the universal form. So if you cannot do that bhakti yoga, then try to cultivate knowledge and be self-situated. This is another form of yoga, that you try to put aside selfish desire as your motivation and try to become santushta, as mentioned here, self-satisfied, and you don't see yourself as the doer. Now if you can't do that, and because you can't understand that mentality, you can't do it in a kind of detached manner, how do you get detachment? You're all yogis, you should know. By jnana, by spiritual knowledge. So if you can't work in a detached, non-lusty way, if you like, ambition for material things, if you cannot perform your duties in a balanced manner, then gather knowledge, because that will give you the detachment. It will give you the knowledge that Krishna is the doer. Ahankara vimudatma. You become less foolish, thinking I'm doing everything. And then you can enter into this balanced mentality of doing your work in harmony with the Supreme Lord. And then, if you cannot do that, then Krishna, well, if you do that, that's good. But then Krishna says, better, once you have this knowledge, then enter into meditation. Just try to meditate upon the Supreme Lord on the basis of your knowledge. So this is a reference to Ashtanga Yoga. They meditate on different aspects of the Supreme Lord. They're not necessarily entering into bhakti. They may be meditating on the Paramatma or the Brahman. But this will purify the soul, and then you'll come to the higher platforms, which you can say is balanced activity, karma yoga, sadhana bhakti, and then pure devotion of the Paramahamsa. So, having established these levels of application, and a devotee should know these things, because you are meant to teach others, and so if you have this framework in your mind, you can assess people and see what is the best level, best advice for them. So anyway, the result of this bhakti will be the flowering of this kind of personality, because this is the qualities of Krishna and the Krishna's qualities of the soul. The soul in the purified state manifests the same quality as Krishna. So in these I think 7 chapters, 7 verses, these qualities of the devotee, if the devotee manifests these very nicely, it is very pleasing to Krishna. But the point is that these are natural to the soul. Because the soul is the same quality as Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna has these qualities. They are described in these 7 verses. 8th verse after this is as we said, the liberation condition. So they're very important. So in this particular 2 verses we're doing today, these qualities of Krishna are described, and the qualities of the pure devotees, and the qualities that we should cultivate during bhakti, sadhana, are also there. There are all those 3 things. Qualities of Krishna, qualities of the liberated, purified soul, and then what you should cultivate in the period of sadhana. So 3 things are given in these 7 verses. And what is the first word? Advaishta sarvabhutanam. So this is very important. Advaishta means envy. Advaishta means non-envious. So envious, Prabhupada uses envious in a modern context. Sometimes people say envy. I envy his position. Actually, they're misusing the word. They're jealous of his position. Or jealous also means I want to maintain my position. But envy, it's semi-archaic, but Prabhupada has brought it back, means hatefulness. Advaishta. If you're envious, means you have a negative attitude to that person. I want to cause him distress, mental, physical, even spiritual. You're negatively disposed, but you're also wanting to cause trouble. So, Advaishta Sarvabhutanam, the devotee doesn't have this feeling, nor does the Supreme Lord. So we can extrapolate back, like we say, this quality of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes in man-made religion, man-made scriptures, the Supreme Lord is described as a jealous God who destroys cities, who gives plagues, who favors one ethnic group. With very bad press, right? It makes God into a kind of person that you meet in the bus station. Frustrated and angry. When is that bus? Well, cursing the bus station. So, the Supreme Lord, though, and therefore on this basis, these atheists, and recently the atheists have become a little aggressive. You know, they're making all sorts of arguments, flying all over the world. There is no God, because in the Bible it says God is like that, and God can't be like that. Therefore he doesn't exist. So it's a bit contradictory. In one mouthful you're saying God is like this, but because he's like this, he doesn't exist. You don't see any contradiction there? So anyway, these it's called anthropomorphic. You find that people are envious and selfish and nasty, and if you're a politician, you're ready to destroy a whole country. So then you impose that on the Supreme Lord. But Bhagavad Gita says not so. Krishna says not so. Non-envious. And Prabhupada explained, many lectures, Prabhupada talks about that this is the material disease. That generally we have a negative opinion about people. The materialists, particularly those in Tamagun. Tamagun means anger and viciousness, murderous, rapey mentality, destructive. Passion is Rajagun. I want to enjoy. So the materialist is full of these things because of frustration with his attempt to be happy in the material world. He blames other people. He never blames himself. It's always the other person. But as we know, the old saying, if you point the finger at someone, 3 fingers are pointing at you. You're a nasty piece of work. 3 times over I'm saying it about myself. Because in the Bhagavatam it says, Atmavan manyate jagat. As a man is, as a soul is, so he sees the world. Have you ever noticed, if you can't find your favorite kurta and you're delayed going to Mangalarti, you get frustrated. So then you become short-tempered. The whole world seems a nasty place. Huh? So, according to your mentality, you will see the world. Similarly, according to your mentality, you'll imagine God. So these man-made scriptures that appear and last 1,000 years or so, they have this quality. They impose the scribe's vision of people in this world and impose it on the Supreme Lord's actions. But Advaita Sarvabhutanam, Krishna is not an angry God. He's not an envious God. He's not a jealous God. He's not envious to everyone, and that's perfectly logical. If we're Angsa, Jiva Angsa, if we're the creation of Krishna, why should Krishna be enviously or negatively opposed? We've already used a few months back the idea of a painting. If you make a painting, everyone may think, well, that, yes, yeah, but you think it's a wonderful creation. Huh? It's better than Salvador Dali. Nobody else agrees, but I think so. You have naturally a loving attitude and admiration for your own creation. Huh? So therefore, Krishna is not just non-envious, but we hear Maitreya, next word, right? He's friendly. Yeah, or rather, he has a positive attitude. Right, let's get in order. Advaita Sarvabhut Maitra. And that is the opposite of having a negative, envious attitude, is it not? Envy means that negative, fault-finding, I want to make trouble for you attitude. But friendly attitude means positive, is it not? Earlier in the Gita, Krishna, when he enumerates quality of devotee again, he says, friend to all living entities. So, this friendliness that is there in Krishna. It is a positive attitude. Why not? We are his amsa. We are his creation. We are his spirit souls. Huh? Even though we've fallen down in the material world, Krishna still maintains that friendly attitude. And therefore he is sending saints and sadhus and Paramahamsas like Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Madhavendra Puri, the 6 Goswamis, always to keep the light of knowledge in the darkness of the material world available. This is his friendliness. Sometimes people say, oh, please bless me. But what is the blessing? What is blessing? The blessing is the teachings of the sadhu, not an electric shock system. Krishna says, Tadvidi Pratipatena. You approach the sadhu, qualified, and you ask him, you inquire. And then sevaya, you follow those instructions. It's not very difficult to understand. So the blessing of the sadhu is his instructions. So Krishna, through his friendliness, his mercy, his positive attitude, he is always maintaining in the material world saints and sadhus and rishis who want to give this knowledge for the betterment of people. And therefore the next word is what? Karuna, mercy. That is the mercy. If you're friendly to somebody, you want to help them, right? Oh, come in, sit down, have a cup of tea. Would you like a biscuit? So you have a merciful attitude. So giving spiritual knowledge is the ultimate aspect of mercy. Because by spiritual knowledge, you can leave this material world, as it is constantly said throughout the Shastra, and we should always remember this, and I always say it. By spiritual knowledge, one becomes liberated. It is the lack of spiritual knowledge that people are engaged in the darkness of the material world. Therefore, the word in English, enlightened. Oh, he's an enlightened soul. That means he has absorbed the light of spiritual knowledge. He has gained freedom from the darkness of mental speculation, consideration that I'm the material body, from ahankara, all these things. He's enlightened. So spiritual knowledge is like light. We say, what do we chant? Om Jnanata Marandasya. The spiritual master is like the shining a light in the darkened eyes, the darkened mentality of the fallen soul. So, that is the greatest mercy, to distribute spiritual knowledge, because it has an eternal effect. Yes, you give somebody a shirt and a meal for a day, that's okay. But if you give people clothing and housing and food, and don't give them the solution from the cycle of birth and death, and rather by giving, this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says in his essay, one essay. He says that actually if you present mercy as satisfying people's bodily and mental needs, then you're actually doing disservice. Because you're telling them that by giving, filling your belly and having a nice place to live with nice clothes, that's the solution to your troubles. So you're covering the real solution by putting a bodily solution. Now, of course, that doesn't mean to say people shouldn't be clothed and fed. Srila Prabhupada said that within 10 miles of our temples, nobody should be hungry. Prabhupada said that. He said that. But of course, that food should be spiritualized. It should be cooked properly and offered nicely, so it has spiritual potency. But even if you give people food and clothes, then that is a good thing. But you have to also give spiritual knowledge. If you give people the impression, like I say, that the problem is material and the solution is material, then they remain in the bodily platform. That is not real mercy. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he was the chopping guru, he was so powerful, said that this is actually a disservice, because it gives people the impression that they are material and the solution is material. So be comfortable as you wait your turn in the slaughterhouse. Because, right, if you have a nice suit, you're still going to die. You may be sleeping on the street, but it doesn't mean that the person in the nice suit won't die, and only the people on the street, the rickshaw wallah, will die. No, everyone die, even if you're a banker. I was reading such a ridiculous thing. It was on the internet, I was looking at the news, and they say, in 2 years, they will be able to do a head transplant. Yeah, put a new head on the body. But what if you don't like that body? Maybe it's a body transplant to your head. Who gets the body and who gets the head? Are the two people going to fight? Or maybe the person that gets the head will take the body of the other person, or something like that. So if you get a head transplant or a body transplant from the other angle of vision, the problem is still the same. Huh? The doctor is telling you that the solution to your problem is a new head. Or a new body from the other angle of vision. They didn't say that in the newspaper article, but I was thinking, they're calling it a head transplant, but what about calling it a body transplant to a head? Anyway, so this is all bodily platform stuff, and it is not ultimately, because as you know, we are eternal spirit soul, but we are stuck in this illusory condition of birth and death. So you can see, though it may seem like a random list, you can see how Krishna Advaita, he disposes of that, then he says friendliness, then he says mercy. So nirmamo. So, yes, you cannot be a kind friend. You see the next one, it says kind friend, maitra karuna evacha, nirmamo. So this means free of ahankara, I and mine. You see this, nirmamo nirahankara. So freedom of proprietorship. So nirahankara means freedom from false ego. Freedom from false ego. What is ahankara? Huh? Aham mameti, right? That often described. There are other more complicated visions of ahankara. Ahankara basically means I'm the doer. So I am the doer is broken into 3 phases. One is karta, I am the doer. I am the cause, that is the karanam, and then the karya, I am also entitled to the effect. So those 3 divisions of ahankara, Lord Shiva is the deity of these 3 aspects. They are the 3 basic illusions. And out of the idea I'm a doer, the mode of goodness comes, the mode of passion comes from the idea I'm the cause, and the mode of ignorance is born from the idea I deserve the fruit. So also ahankara can be put even more simply, aham mameti, I and mine. So false ego lends itself to this mentality, nirmamo. This is mine, because it's related to me. And who is me? This body. Aham means I am this body. Mameti, and the paraphernalia of the body is mine. What does Lord Bhakti Vinod say? Manasa deho geho. So those 3 things. This is the hankara, this is mine. My mind is mine. Deha, my body is mine. Geho means griha. It means the paraphernalia attached to my mind. You know, my body, my house. These are the 3. So Lord, Bhakti Vinod says, Krishna, I give them all to me. So that is Manasa Deho, Bhajan, what is the next? That's it. So Nanda Kishore, I give this all to you. Ahankara. So somebody who is merciful cannot be merciful if he's a greedy little whatnot, right? If you're thinking that everything is mine and I should expand mine to the size of the universe, if you think you're going to be a new Vamana and stride across the universe and capture it, and that's it. If you read about Ravana and these demoniac people, they're not just satisfied with controlling, Los Angeles. They want to control the whole universe. So once this idea of proprietorship, mine, which is expanded from the illusion that I'm this body, then this becomes the source of a very violent, aggressive mentality. And we see, like for example, across the Atlantic there, the people in charge of that country just want to control everything. The money, the banks, let's control. You're my enemy. What does Krishna say when he describes the demoniac mentalist? So much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my plans. He is my enemy, I have killed him. He is my enemy and I will kill him. There is none so wonderful as me. I am free and controlling everything. I am surrounded by aristocratic relatives. I will give in charity, I'll get a good name in that way, and then I will rejoice. So the ahankara, the idea, conception that this is mine, is not limited to griha. It is the whole. And people say that, this is my country, that is your country. And they draw lines on the map. But Krishna doesn't draw lines on the map. But this is all ahankara. This is all proprietorship. So how you can be friendly when you're trying to expand your kingdom? It means you're an aggressor. There cannot be friendship in a society that is overly aggressive and that is proprietary. And that's what, isn't it? You look into history books. One, Alexander the Greatly Bad. He was Greek, but then he failed when he came to India, actually. He got stabbed in what is now Pakistan. He died of poisoning. God bless him. But you see this, they're all like the British, they try to expand. Oh, look at the world, it's all coloured red because that's British. And then you get one after the other. The Muslims came here, right? The Mughals, we want to control India. So this is not friendliness, is it? Pax Romanica, the Romans were controlling the Mediterranean basin. Of course, they failed to control the British. Or the Scottish, really. They couldn't handle the Scottish. They had a grasp on the British. But when they went up there to those Scottish, they were drinking whiskey and they drove them back. It was too cold up there. Those strange people with skirts on. Anyway, so it's not friendly. If you have ahankara, you're not friendly. You want to increase your enjoyment because you think, oh, I've got £100 now and I'm so happy. If I get 200, I'll be double happy. But that's the mistake calculation. That is illusion. That's the Maya Shakti. No. Your happiness will come from spiritual realization, from being situated in the Satchidananda energy, the bliss. You will expand into your Swarup. You will live eternally. It's better than having control of Scotland. That's for sure. I've been there. Anyway. So the point is nirmamo nirahankara. So Krishna is contrasting what is that? Maitra Kurunika. He's saying this is the problem. But the devotee doesn't have this problem. Why? Because through his spiritual realization and through seeing the universal form, even just by reading the 11th chapter, you can see, Krishna is the supreme controller. He's the source of everything. He's the maintainer of everything. So once this realization takes place within the consciousness of the individual soul, he sees directly and personally, no, this is not mine, manasadeho goha. This is all belonging to Krishna. Let me use it in his service. Nirmamo nirahankara. Samaduka. Yes, so if you're free from this agitation, this calm, this lust for material enjoyment and material control, and that's the mode of passion. Always, if you want to sum up the mode of passion, the person in the mode of passion, he wants to enjoy the material energy. Wine, women and song, the nice things, the la dolce vita, the nice things of life. He wants to enjoy the material energy. But the person in tamagun, he's frustrated, he can't enjoy, so he becomes sadistic, masochistic. He didn't enjoy the normal things, so now in his frustration he becomes angry, let me control. And they become old buggers and try to control the world and kill everyone. And that's their form of happiness. So of course, that is the happiness of Narak. If you go to the fourth level of Narak, it's below Sutala, then this is the mentality that if you have that mentality in life, you'll spend your time down in the fourth level of Patala. And your happiness will be seeing other people suffering in hell. Try to understand that. Your happiness will be thinking, everyone's in hell, like me, suffering. Things aren't so bad, everyone else is suffering. It makes me feel good. Of course it's not a very deep feeling of happiness. But this mentality you can see in the world today. They're all residents of Narak. And of course, that's what happens. They start wars, right? Show the flag, we're going to save the world, we're going to expand our empire, and you cannon fodder are going to do it for us. And so then they say it's all hell. War is hell. It's not a heroic thing, especially nowadays. And what do they killing each other? And they feel, oh, I killed that son of a gun, and now I feel good because he didn't kill me. So this is the happiness of Narak. If you study the different 7 Patala lokas, they go down and down. Number 4 is this happiness. The Germans have a word for it, Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. It means the happiness of others' distress. So actually that's the mentality. In the 3rd level of hell, you want to kill somebody, you see. This is the different mentalities. Of course they overlap and so on and so forth. You can study about hell. I wouldn't advise you to go there because it's unpleasant. But according to different demoniac mentalities, there's different levels of hell. And if you're in hell, you cannot feel the mode of goodness. Just like when you're angry, you overcome with anger. You cannot feel happy at the same time, can you? So you can understand what is Narak and the different levels of Narak by examining your own experience. So you can become angry with somebody. This is the feeling that the people in hell have. I want to kill. I'm happy because he's suffering. Then it goes down, 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 even more compressed. And so nobody's happy when they're angry. You don't feel like giving a donation when you're in a bad mood. So, anyway, Samaduka. So, this is the quality of a devotee. And this we see, Lord Chaitanya sums it up. What is that verse? Trinadapi sanichena tarorapi manina. That you should be balanced. Samada. You see this? Samaduka. Dukkha sukha. Because in this material world particularly, and Prabhupada puts that very pertinent verse in the thing, we are not always going to have good things happen to us. People will try to upset us. We will be disturbed by natural conditions. We'll be disturbed by our own body and mind. So, samadukkha, sukha shami. So, tolerance comes, the basis of tolerance comes from the nirahankara. Huh? People who consider that they are this material body, they react very badly. Oh, I've broken my nail. Call the doctor. Huh? I've lost a tooth. My God, I have to go and see a psychologist. But a devotee, oh, a tooth has fallen out, never mind, I've only got another 30 years to go and then they'll be putting me in the ground. So tolerance in all the bodily and material conditions is based on is the mentality of devotee, because he doesn't think he's the material body. He doesn't think that this is mine. So if he loses some land or some property, detached, never mind. This verse, remember, tattena nukampadam. And not only, Prabhupada didn't say it in the purport, but if you have that mentality of tolerating the dualities of material nature, the happiness and distress, sukha dukkha, then Krishna, it's in the Bhagavatam, of course, then you become the rightful inheritor of the spiritual world. Just like a son, if he is faithful to his father, naturally he inherits the property of the father. So the devotee naturally inherits the spiritual world on the basis of this. This is all my karmic effect. This person doesn't like me, this person does like me, I should be balanced in the middle of it all. This problem is happening because of my body, somebody is giving me a nice lassi, should be balanced. That doesn't mean to say impersonal balance, but he is not agitated excessively by the things external to the spiritual platform. So, Shami, what is that next word that comes along? Forgiving, yes. So he's forgiving to other living entities. Tolerance is based on forgiveness, right? We have to go a little. Santushta, and then what will you become? Satisfied. When you're balanced mentality and you're forgiving, you're satisfied with whatever condition. And this is very important for a devotee, because a devotee is not meant to work hard, it's there in Nectar of Devotion, excessively in the material physical plane, because if he does that, if he may become distracted from his realization of transcendence. So therefore, a devotee, he is satisfied with what comes naturally as a result of his karma, and he doesn't enter into the material energy trying to expand his enjoyment or expand his profit, adoration, distinction. He's not excessive, he's satisfied with himself, balance, santushta. Tatatam yogi, yes. So once you're satisfied, then you can be a yogi, right? Self-controlled yogi. Tatatam tushta yogi. So if you're balanced, if tolerant, then you can be a yogi. What does yogi mean? Yoga means plus or addition or union. So it means then you can be fixed in transcendence. If you are santushta, satisfied materially, not over-endeavoring for expanding your material facilities, then you can be a yogi, because you're just taking what comes naturally. Of course you have to act with intelligence, you have to try and gather funds. Don't try to be an artificial avadut, lying on the side of the road and think, whatever food comes in my mouth, that will be enough. No, if you're not on that platform, then you should endeavor in a reasonable manner, but you should be a yogi. That means your mind, your consciousness should be fixed on the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. And what's the best way to do that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But how can you chant 64 rounds a day if you're acting like a madman? Huh? Trying to control everything in the external world. So this is the meaning of santushta. Yogi. Yatatma drida nashtaya. See, so this, what does that mean? Let's look. Self-control, the yogi. So that is the fact. How can you control the senses? Artificially you can control the senses. I'll give up sex life, I'll give up overeating, I'll give up this, I'll give up that. But you cannot do it, just like you cannot give up eating, maybe for 2-3 days, but then you'll be forced to eat. So you have to have some engagement. So the yogi, his engagement is in transcendence. So drida nishtaya. Nishtha means engaged in devotional service with full determination. Nishtaya. You see that? Drida. Drida means determined. With first. So by fixing the consciousness in Vaidhi Bhakti, Rag Bhakti, on the Supreme Lord, in full knowledge, then you can become self-controlled. Because you'll get happiness from the transcendental platform. What is that verse? Rasaham apsakun? No. Yes. By experiencing the higher taste, one can give up. Is it Rasaham apsakun? Huh? Well, how does it start? How does it start? Yeah, that's it. Raso varjam rasopyasya param drisva nivartate. So if you can get that taste, that rasa, from the transcendental platform, then you can be self-controlled. But that doesn't mean to say you should artificially just give up eating, sleeping, mating, defending, but it should be regulated within Shastric advice. So don't try to artificially act on a platform for which you're not yet qualified. Don't try to be Sanatan Goswami eating a little buttermilk every day, because you'll just become unhealthy. Better to have some nice prasad. Of course, don't go to Govinda's or MVT, it's very costly. Anyway. Drida Nishya, upon me, you see, with determination upon me. So Krishna is giving all this, it's all sequential, do you see? Engage the mind, consciousness with intelligence, and that person, you see how Krishna comes from that adveshta, from the enviousness of the material mentality, hatefulness, greediness, false ego. Then he develops the qualities santushta, sukha dukkha, sama, equality. Then he comes, and then that devotee who has given up this hatefulness and greediness of material energy and towards other living entities, and he is merciful and friendly, then that person is very dear to me. And Krishna becomes very proud of such a devotee. Look what a wonderful, in many places in Shastra you see that. Krishna, oh, my devotee, look at them, so nice. But how can Krishna say that about some greedy little whatnot? He never doesn't say that, right? We all know that greedy people or proud people, they're obnoxious, are they not? Say somebody is a great pianist, but he's proud. Well, first that pride comes in a subtle form into the music, so it makes his music less attractive, because music is more than just notes. It also carries the bhav of the musician. So if somebody is proud, then that will come into his music, and it'll be, look, he's just using music to show off. But if somebody is humble, even if they can't play the piano very nicely, we enjoy that person's company. Like if somebody has no particular material abilities, but is very gentle and lacking pride, we like that person, do we not? His company is nice. But somebody's a proud fool, we are, yes, you're a great man, yeah. I'll talk to my friends. Because pride is ahankara. The opposite of a pride is humility. What is humility? Humility means to recognize reality, that you're dependent. Ahankara means I think I'm the doer and I inflate my abilities. But the devotee doesn't think, I am the doer. Krishna is the doer. That is in the next chapter. Krishna will explain all that. The 5 factors of action. What are the 5 factors of action? We can prepare. First, the endeavor itself. Then the environment within which the endeavor is performed. Then the body, the senses that the soul is using. Then the soul itself, who is the proprietor in a sense of that body, who's within that body, not really a proprietor. And then the supersoul. So the devotee this is real humility. Humility doesn't mean to say, I'm no good, I'm not this, I'm not some kind of mental disease, lack of self-esteem. Humility means to see the reality that everything depends upon Krishna. And everything is coming by His grace. It doesn't mean to say that you're, I'm not a human being, I'm a bug in the ground. Of course, ecstatic emotion can be like that. But for sadhaka, he should try to realize reality. And we see in 11th chapter, Gita, that actually reality is that everything has come from Krishna. Everything is resting upon Krishna. And therefore, everything is His grace. So that is humility, to recognize that and act in that mentality. So that kind of mentality, that is true humility, recognizing our dependence upon Krishna. And that person is very dear to Krishna. But so the devotee gives the credit to Krishna. Arjuna gives the credit to. But then he thinks, just like Arjuna in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, or it's also in Mahabharata. After the Mahabharata war, then Arjuna and Krishna disappeared. Arjuna was taking the wives of Krishna for protection. But you know the story, right? But he was defeated by these village people, country people. So he was lamenting to Yudhisthira. I was trying, actually they were expansions of Brijvasis taking the wives. It wasn't just mundane people. But Arjuna was explaining to Yudhisthira, before on the battlefield I was fighting with Bhishma and Karna. But now I couldn't even defeat these country people who captured the wives of Krishna. And this was all the grace of Krishna. So he was realizing that everything, my power, my Shakti, that I manifest in the battlefield, that was all Krishna's grace. And if Krishna withdraws our grace, we cannot do anything. But don't think that Krishna is an angry, jealous God. Because all these qualities, like we say, that they are the qualities of Krishna. Krishna is Advaita Sarvabhutana. Krishna is Maitraya, friendly attitude. Krishna is Karunika. Krishna is balanced in mentality. You see, all these false scriptures, they actually create atheism. Because they describe God in such a terrible way that people, that's God. Of course, these foolish atheists, like we said earlier, they're going around and they're saying God doesn't exist because the Bible or this scripture is contradictory. But that's ridiculous. They're supposed to be intellectuals. But is the existence of God and the nature of God dependent upon some crazy book? Just like if I write a crazy book about Plato, does that mean Plato doesn't exist? So if you write man-made scriptures that is giving God a bad press, does that mean God doesn't exist? Just like if I give you a false proof for the idea that oxygen is necessary for combustion, does that, and it's, it's scientifically invalid, my experiment, Does that mean that oxygen isn't necessary for combustion? So a false proof does not disprove that which is under examination. So anyway, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas themselves, they give the true picture, and we can understand that. We should understand that. That Advaishta Sarvabhutanam Maitreya Karunika. This is the attitude of Krishna. And Krishna doesn't think, oh, this person has been in the material world for millions of years, I won't give him. I'll only give him. No. Samaham Sarvabhutesho Madbhakta. Na Priya. Na Veshta, yes. I'm not envious. I don't dislike anyone. Nor am I particularly favorable. But I reciprocate according to their approach. So Krishna is saying, I'm Sama. But my devotees, I have a special attitude to them. Why? Because the devotees say, you can enter my life, Krishna, and you can arrange it nicely for my spiritual elevation. So that's the third category. Is that is not envious, is not favorable in a through choice or whimsy. Is balanced about everyone, but he is especially favorable to his devotees because they are taking shelter of him. So Narottam, he's written a song, you know, that Krishna, please don't reject me, I have no other shelter than you. So we can have that attitude if we understand Krishna's personality. He's non-envious, he's merciful, friendly, balanced, reasonable. So this is a revelation of Krishna as well as the nature of a devotee. We'll finish on that point. Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.
Yeah.
You have a question?
One question. Can you explain the relationship between the senses are controlled, he's determined. Prabhupada says in the purport, and it says in the verse also, but he is completely perfect mystic because he's fixing the instructions received from his spiritual master. And because the senses are controlled, he is determined. So that's the part I need clarified. Because the senses
Say it again.
are controlled,
Yeah.
he's determined. Determined is
Well, yes, because if the
dependent upon
Well,
controlled senses.
yes.
Explain that relationship.
Well, I think it's not a off-on. It's like a, you know, the more you're fixed on Krishna, the more you'll be able to control your senses. Right? So it's not on-off. This person is controlled and this person is not. When we're sadhakas, we're the middle range.
But that makes you determined.
Oh, you mean you get, well,
I didn't quite get the bridge.
which paragraph is it?
It's all one paragraph.
Oh yeah, it's all one paragraph, yeah.
It's about 2/3 in. The sentence begins, he is a completely perfect mystic because he's fixing the instructions received from the spiritual master.
Yes.
Now the last phrase of the sentence, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined.
Ah, you're saying which comes first? The chicken or the egg? If you're determined, then you can control your senses. Or you control your senses and then you become determined. Well, the becoming before that is you're a yogi. Remember? In the verses, first Krishna says yogi.
Knowledge and intelligence.
So yes, you have to have a certain amount of determination to fix the mind on Krishna. Yes. Particularly in period of sadhana, when your attraction to Krishna is not very strong, right? You're just a neophyte. You're trying to understand Krishna. So it's hard to be a yogi. But through Vaidhi Bhakti, like I say, through following, and Prabhupada says that instructions of the spiritual master, that amount of determination we must have. But then, as we realize Krishna more and more, then we become very self-controlled in the sense that Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchite, that we serve the senses of Krishna. And then Krishna controls our senses, keeps us liberated condition. He keeps us unattracted to the material energy. So I wouldn't separate them in a sequential manner. I would say that they kind of like blend over each other. You must be determined through hearing from the Guru, but then as you realize Krishna, then you become even more self-controlled. And then you become even more determined. So it's going in it's like a businessman. He's got 10 rupees, invests it in his business. Then he's got 11 rupees, then he reinvests his determination and gets 12 rupees.